that's never been to Missouri,
Yeah.
and you know what? They're coming for the first time because of the Katy Trail.
Right.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So one of the questions I wanted to ask you about your book and how do you do your research? So you kind of, like you say, you have a blend of history, you have a blend of kind of community and culture, and then also, I mean, you have tons and tons of information in here about, I mean, even if you just look at the back of the book, you have the entire map of the Katy Trail, plus, you know, all the mile markers and everything. There's so much, you know, functional information in here, technical information, but then also sprinkled in with a lot of you know, cultural and information. You talk about Peddler's Jamboree in the beginning. You talk about
Yeah.
lots of festivals and stuff.
Yeah.
How do you do your research? And then you also said that you got to keep that under 192 pages, right? Like,
Yeah.
how do you do your research? How do you put all that together? How do you edit that all down and make a decision on what you're going to talk about and what you don't talk about?
Hey, thanks. That's a great question. I don't actually think I've ever had anybody ask me that before. It's a real labor of love is the first thing that I'll say.
Right.
And it's interesting because some of the things in the book are timeless and other things are timely.
Right.
Like we've got some repairs happening at the Salt Creek Bridge just west of Roachport. So you have to find that happy balance. And so it's a really interesting thing. I mean, every town has a story to tell, and it really can vary as much by who you talk to in that town.
Mm-hmm.
So just like you're a natural storyteller and you get these other storytellers on here, you just follow the story and it just sort of unravels in front of you. I've had a love affair with the Missouri River Valley for like 30 plus years at this point. I never get tired of it. Every book plants the seed for the next book. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, so I quickly realized like Katy Trail Guidebook, but then I did that Katy Trail Nature Guide.
So that's an awesome book.
Thanks. I appreciate that. And it's just a guide to all the common questions everybody gets, you know,
Yeah.
like illustrations of all the birds, plants, trees, you
Yeah.
name it.
It's
That'd
so
be
cool.
in its own book. And then, of course, it wouldn't be the Missouri River Valley without the story of Lewis and Clark.
Mm-hmm.
So then I wrote Exploring Lewis and Clark's Missouri for the bicentennial back in 2004.
Yeah.
And then, again, the stories just snowball to the point that I was able to do that Exploring Missouri Wine Country book.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. It's like tons of history. It's just so many great stories of like self-starting entrepreneurial rural folk
Mm-hmm.
that are excited to do this and maybe convert some building they've had in the family for 50 years. Or heck, there's a bunkhouse in Marthasville now, for example, Happy Apples. They've got a little bunkhouse that they used to use for their orchard crew that would come in seasonally, and now they've opened this bunkhouse up to people along the trail. And so it's like it's authentic, you know. It's like, as you and I both know, if you drive any major highway in Missouri for hours, it's like Applebee's, you know, Chipotle, McDonald's. It's like the homogenization of American culture, I guess.
Yeah.
Whereas you hit the Katy Trail and it's just like, it's real, it's local, it's authentic, it's unique, it's genuine. It's like all the things that I think a lot of us are trying to reconnect with.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just a bullseye. I don't know how else to say it. And the fact that you get to like get there by bike, it just makes it like 10 times better.
Yeah. You know, I grew up in Kearney, Missouri, out north of Kansas City. And,
Yeah.
And during that time was, during the 80s and the 90s when I was growing up, I'm the son of a barber who owned a barbershop in
Oh my
Kearney,
gosh.
Missouri, and his barbershop was right on the downtown strip, you know. And I always remember from my childhood, you know, there was his barbershop, and then right next to his barbershop was a guy who owned a repair shop for, you know, cars, you know, automobile repair shop and stuff like that. And then you went farther down the strip, and there was Clem's Cafe, and there was, you know, the old traditional cafe with the red, you know, seats and everything, you know, and
Yeah.
you know, just like what you think of, like, and how a lot of that stuff has really changed. You know, a lot of those, my dad's shop is still there, but
Oh, that's nice.
most of those stores have moved on or gone, or, you know, people have something's happened to those stores. And like you say, a lot of you go to the other side of town and it's what you talk about, you know, you've got your fast food restaurants and kind of stuff like that, and kind of the homogenization. But to go to some of these towns, a lot of these towns don't have that, right? They're still very much like the, you know, the Clem's Cafe, so to speak, you know, the old cafes and stuff like that, and the old barbershops and
Right.
stuff. And
Yeah.
and it's more personal, right? It's more community because, like you say, there's somebody who owns that shop, somebody who's put their time and effort and love into that shop, and it makes it more of a kind of a connection, a community kind of a thing than, you know, walking into your fast food restaurant of choice.
Right. Yeah. And I actually ran a bed and breakfast in Roachport for 15 years called the Katy Trail B&B.
Mm-hmm.
And Katy Trail folks are like the best. And there is so much like the tribe is so tight. Like even people that have never met before, it's just it's a powerful thing to experience. I'm not even sure I can put it into words, but like to be on either side, either riding through town on your bike as the sun's going down, exploring something new, or being one of these innkeepers along the trail, getting to meet all these folks as they come through. It's like it's just kind of rarer and rarer, I think, in today's world to like make that personal connection in real life, with people. So I'm kind of speechless about it, really. It's amazing.
Yeah, it really is. It's cool. And the fact that you've been able to put a lot of that in a book, I really enjoy that. I really appreciate that. So
Well,
thank you for your work. And